Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed since last time. Pat Robertson talks to God. A few weeks ago, Pat Robertson announced that he'd had a long heart-to-heart with his imaginary friend. I believe he calls him God. And God let Pat in on who's going to win our presidential election here in the United States this year. But Pat's not telling, because that would be a falsifiable prediction, and religious people hate those. Then, Pat shared with us the very words of God.
Your country will be torn apart by internal stress. A house divided cannot stand. Your president holds a radical view of the direction of your country, which is at odds with the majority. Expect chaos and paralysis. This is a spiritual battle which can only be won by overwhelming prayer. The future of the world is at stake because if America falls, there's no longer a strong champion of freedom and a champion of the oppressed of the world. There must be an urgent call to prayer.
So, we'll just add that bit to the Bible then, shall we? How much of a dick is this God, by the way? He warns us that there's this coming internal strife that's going to tear our country apart, and then he says that the only way to stop it is to pray to him. He's basically saying, yeah, I'm the only one who can save you, but I'll only do it if you all get down on your faces and beg me to help. Fuck you, buddy. With a role model like you, it's no wonder Pat Robertson is such a huge piece of shit. Rick Santorum, who is an even bigger piece of shit than Pat Robertson. What makes Santorum so shitty? I think we all know the answer to that one. Specifically, it's his roiling, irrepressible reservoir of anti-gay bigotry, which comes frothing to the surface virtually every time the man opens his mouth. While campaigning in New Hampshire ahead of that state's primary, in which he finished 4th, by the way, Santorum made it clear that he isn't satisfied with merely continuing to deny certain rights to gay Americans. He also wants to take away some rights that they already have. He would reinstate the ban on gays in the military, and he favors a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage that would invalidate the same-sex marriages already recognized by a dozen states. And homophobia isn't the only form of bigotry nursed by Santorum or by his fellow Republican candidates. Republican presidential candidates play dumb in face of racism charges. Santorum took a breather from promising to relegate gay Americans to permanent second-class citizenship to pay some overdue attention to the black community. Speaking to an all-white audience in Iowa about welfare, Santorum said, quote, "I don't want to make black people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money," which is a bit condescending when you consider that not everybody on welfare is black. And in fact, in Iowa, where Santorum was speaking, 84% of welfare recipients are white. Santorum's defense is that he didn't actually say black people. He said black people. I don't want to make black people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. So you're either a racist or an idiot? Can I choose both? Fuck you, Rick. A few days later in New Hampshire, Newt Gingrich promised to address the NAACP convention, if invited, and explain to them why black people should demand paychecks instead of food stamps. Gingrich's defense, he wasn't really singling out the black community, he was attacking the Obama administration's policies. Newt said, quote, "If you talk openly and honestly about the failure of liberal institutions and the way that they hurt the poor, there becomes a sudden frenzy of a herd of people running over screaming racism, racism." Yeah. And you know what really seems to trigger that reaction? When a presidential candidate of a major political party does something incredibly racist, like giving a speech that assumes welfare reform is a black issue. Fuck you too, Newt. Doomsday Clock moves closer to midnight. We're all one metaphorical minute closer to global disaster now that the board of directors of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists have adjusted the Doomsday Clock to read 5 minutes to midnight. The reason? The usual concerns over nuclear weapon stockpiles, potential for nuclear war, and the lack of serious attention paid by governments to climate change. What? So we can't just stave off worldwide annihilation by not shooting nuclear missiles at each other. We have to take care of the environment too? Jesus Christ. This is getting to be more trouble than it's worth. Marines piss on the Taliban. A video posted to YouTube last week appears to show 4 Marines in Afghanistan taking a piss on the corpses of 3 Taliban fighters. Well, when you gotta go, I guess. And these guys have gotta go into another line of work, preferably one where they won't be able to defile their dead enemies while wearing the uniform of the United States. Congratulations, fellas. You're why people hate us. Thanks ever so much. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.